This was an exciting week, especially for those of us in the House Democratic Caucus who consider ourselves ardent supporters of public education in Oklahoma. To see nearly 30,000 teachers march upon the Capitol demanding more accountability, more funding for their public schools, an end to irresponsible tax cuts and budgets. It was heartwarming for us because oftentimes we at the Capitol, and especially in the House Democratic Caucus, feel that we're fighting a battle that isn't being heard back home, or maybe doesn't necessarily have all the support that we'd like to see out in the state, out in the counties and towns. And Monday's showing was a demonstration that we believe we're on the right track, that the people are with us, that they support more funding for public education, and they oppose irresponsible tax cuts. And we're hoping that Monday's rally won't just fade away. All the power and energy won't just fade away over the next coming days and weeks, but that the members, those teachers and parents and administrators will continue to communicate with their state representatives and state senators to keep that issue on the forefront so that we truly do get proper funding for public education this year. And in that vein, we had House Bill 2642 meet an interesting fate yesterday. My caucus was somewhat surprised with Senator Jolly's efforts to take $30 million out of the transportation guaranteed money, and as well as to add an extra, what would I think work out to about 10 extra days onto the school year. While our caucus supports House Bill 2642 as it came out of the House, and on a side note, we don't necessarily oppose in adding a day or two onto the school year. What we do oppose is an effort to add more money to the school, add more funding to public schools, but at the same time add more responsibilities. We're trying to get out of the hole. We're trying to help public schools dig out of the hole that they've been in with over $200 million in budget cuts. And so to give them 50 or 60 million new dollars, but to add even one extra school day on, which most estimates say that would cost us $50 million. You're essentially giving no benefit to the school system. You're not giving one new dollar for a new teacher in the classroom to shrink already oversized class sizes, not one new dollar for a new textbook that hadn't been bought in 10 years. You're doing nothing for them but setting them further behind. And so our caucus hopes that when that thing gets to the Senate floor, or at least when it comes back to the House, that we can put some more common sense back into the legislation. So, and at the same time, speaking of common sense, to have the teachers here on Monday and then on Tuesday to turn around and vote for $200 million worth of tax cuts, we believe is anything but common sense. There were Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike, 30,000 strong, on the Capitol steps Monday, and it was almost uniformly agreed to that tax cuts in this environment, with the budget cuts that have already been sustained over these years, are just simply fiscally irresponsible, and there's no need to do them now. They will not have the economic impact that they think that they're going to have, and they will do more harm to our public schools than what's already been done. And so for the state Senate to turn around and pass $200 million worth of tax cuts, I've said it before, it's either they're either just simply tone deaf to the current situation, or they're just being intentionally obstinate. Either way, I would hope that the Senate, on the Senate floor, both Republicans and Democratic senators would put an end to that $200 million folly. I was surprised by that because, from our perspective, that we believe that transportation dollars are important. If you want to bring business into the state, you don't cut taxes you don't cut already low income taxes. What you do is you invest in infrastructure and education, and so that's what we believe is the proper roadmap for economic growth. And so the plan, the path that we put transportation on, we believe is a good one. To take that money away from transportation and to put it in education now, I can understand what Senator Jolly is trying to do, but what I think, in the practical aspect of it, what I think Senator Jolly has just done, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is he's just taken some very powerful, wealthy allies of public education funding and now made them opponents. He's now got... Well, but I think these were Senator Jolly's requirements in order to get the bill heard in his committee. It's my understanding. That's right. It's Halligan's bill, but Senator Jolly required the 10 extra days. He required the money to come out of transportation dollars. So what Senator Jolly has essentially done is he's ensured that instead of just a handful of Republicans who are opposed to 2642 in the off-the-top format, he's now ensured that there are some very powerful lobbying interests that will do their level best to make sure that 2642 in its current format, now that it's been amended, will not see the light of day. And that's what's really troubling. Not only is he taking money away from transportation, but he's now bringing in some folks to try to kill the bill, when before we thought it was a clean piece of legislation that should go to the governor's desk in that manner.
What did the House version say?
It was just straight $57 million for 10 years and an additional $57 million each year for the next 10 years. And not taking it from anywhere else, just it's going to be off the top money. Before the rest of the money went into the GR fund to be divvied up in the budget, we were going to take $57 million extra for common education. Representative McPeak likened it to taking a fly swatter to war with you, or maybe I said it's like taking a water pistol to war. I mean, if we're going to go after an $80,000 tax credit, annual $80,000 tax credit that helps out child care centers, but we're going to leave hundreds of millions of dollars worth of tax credits on the table and never even discuss those, then what we're allowing for is the optics of a majority party being able to go out and say, we went after and sunsetted 15 new tax credits or 20 new tax credits, however many it'll be at the end of the year. And that argument will be made. And then somebody like yourself, a good intrepid reporter, will raise your hand and say, now, exactly how much money did we save? And it'll be, well, we saved a few $100,000. So did we really accomplish anything? No, probably not. And that's been the case now for years. Pension side of things, we're still, I still hold Representative McDaniel and Representative Osborne at their word. I believe they're trustworthy individuals, and they have given their word to us that unless there is a legitimate pay increase for state employees, they will not push the pension bill. I'm not sure they can get the pension bill out of the House anyway at the end of session. That's going to be a challenge for them anyway. But if they don't increase pay, then the pension bill is a non-factor in the House. They won't call it back up, and that's what Representative McDaniel and Representative Osborne have both said. And so while they're just going to keep the bill alive in the Senate until they can make those budget negotiations work, and so I'm not paying close attention to what's happening over there in the Senate when it comes to the pension bill. I'm more concerned about what's happening in Chairman Martin's office when it comes to the pay, because that'll tell me more about the outcome of the potential pension bill. Secondly, we have not taken up the issue of eliminating local control for municipalities when it comes to the issue of minimum wages yet. But our caucus is just astounded at the hypocrisy in the majority party that they would run on a platform for year after year after year of saying the decisions that are made at the local level are those decisions that are best. And then when given an opportunity to live by that, they're going to pass legislation that would wrestle control away from the voters of Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Del City, Ponca City, you name it. They're wrestling control away from those individual voters and those individual constituents and saying, if you want to put an initiative petition together to go increase the minimum wage in your community, you can't do that. You have to go make this massive initiative petition at the state level, which is so much more difficult to do. It's making it so much harder for just the average citizen to exercise his or her initiative petition rights, and they're doing it all because they don't want to increase the minimum wage. Well, here's a fact that in 1968, when the minimum wage was about $1.60, that year, if you put it in 2013 dollars, it'd work out to about $10.70. Today, it's still $7.25 in 2014. The idea behind raising the minimum wage, whether you agree with it or not, the idea behind it is you're trying to help folks deal with inflation. The argument has been, well, if we increase the minimum wage, it's going to drive up inflation. Let's be honest. Inflation has already occurred. We're just trying to help working families deal with that inflation. But even if you're a Republican, blue-blooded Republican who is opposed to the minimum wage, this vote should still be easy for you. You can stand up and you can be the most liberal member of the House and say, I'm going to vote no on the bill because I believe the minimum wage ought to go up. Or you could be the most blue-blooded Republican and say, I'm going to vote no because I fundamentally believe in local control. Either way, it is bad legislation.